Hypocrisy is the most core tenet to the entirety of the MAGA movement. If you are not willing to shamelessly lie on behalf of Donald Trump, you cannot be a part of MAGA. Now, your ability to successfully lie, that doesn't matter. You just have to humiliate yourself, and humiliate himself, Byron Donalds did in an interview with Kristen Welker, in which she ripped his lies and Donald Trump's lies about their powers to illegally deport people to shreds. As you can expect, Byron Donalds wasn't too happy about that. Pretty much melted down. We're going to get into it all, but before we do, if I could quickly ask you to leave a like on this video, and if you haven't already and you enjoy our channel, to hit that subscribe button. It goes a long way, and it really does mean a lot to me. Now, before we get into Byron Donalds' meltdown over his immigration lies getting called out, I want to start with Jasmine Crockett, who called out an immigration story not getting nearly enough attention, and I want to take a look at that right here.
Right now.
So President Trump says his administration's latest self-deportation policy will allow some migrants a potential path back to the U.S. DHS also says it will pay an additional $1,000 to people who verify that they have left the U.S., people in this country illegally, who have left the U.S. and have returned to their home country. I want you to listen to what White House Deputy Chief of Staff Stephen Miller said about this a few days ago.
A single illegal alien family over the course of its lifetime may cost U.S. taxpayers over $1 million. So when you give an illegal immigrant a check for, say, $1,000 or $2,000, whatever it may be, $3,000 to leave the country, you're saving taxpayers hundreds of thousands of dollars. It also saves money relative to us having to go out and find that illegal alien and physically arrest them and deport them.
You represent a border state. Obviously, there are a lot of undocumented migrants in Texas. What do you make of this? Would you advise any undocumented individual who comes to you that maybe they should take the money and go back to their home country? What's your take on it all?
I wouldn't trust this administration for anything. First of all, they are terrible about paying their bills, number one. Number two, most of those people that have come over, regardless of what this administration said, they came over because they were fleeing things such as the fact that they don't have the opportunity to work and earn a living, or they're fleeing political violence. And so what is $1,000 if you're going back to a place where you may lose your life? They risk their lives, many of them coming over here in the first place. That's number one. Number two, I want to see some numbers. Where in the heck did you just pull this number out of your back pocket saying that they're costing us approximately $100 million? I'm sorry, not $100 million, $1 million for each undocumented person. The only numbers that we have show that we receive approximately $100 billion in tax revenue from undocumented people, so much so that they decided that they want to go to the IRS and get the IRS to help them as they go and seek these people. You know why? Because they've been working and they've been doing the jobs that now they want to roll back child labor protections and make sure that poor children are the ones that are doing those jobs, because now we're going to have those vacancies, if we're going to have jobs left at all, as we continue to endure the grind of this failed experiment around this tariff war.
Imagine the meltdown that would be happening at the Fox propaganda outlet if Joe Biden proposed this same idea. They would be losing their minds. Joe Biden giving cash to him, like, they would freak out. And when Donald Trump does it, they applaud, they salute, they wipe their mouth. I mean, not implying anything, but come on, let's be serious. That's the level of propaganda going on over there. This is insanity. And Byron Donalds tried to bring it to his interview with Kristen Welker. Didn't go too well. He didn't like it.
Everybody that's been deported to this point has had a legal deportation order executed by the president's administration.
But in this case, in the case of Kilmer Abrego Garcia, the administration said it was an administrative error. And in 2019, an immigration judge issued an order that's still in effect that he should not be deported back to El Salvador. And I guess this goes back to the question that I was asking to President Trump. Do you think that everyone, citizens and non-citizens, are entitled to due process?
Well, first and foremost, let me be clear with you. When it comes to due process, that is a privilege reserved for American citizens. When people are in our country illegally, there is a semblance of due process, but not nearly at the level of a United States citizen, of an American. There are two different standards. You come to America, you are a guest in the United States. That privilege can be revoked. And a lot of these illegal aliens were not guests. They showed up at the southern border. Joe Biden abused our laws, ignored our laws, and let them in.
And yet,
so what are the American people supposed to say about that?
Well, the Constitution, mean, let me just read you. This is the Fifth Amendment. No person shall be held to answer for a capital or otherwise infamous crime unless a presentment or indictment of a grand jury, except in cases arising in the land or naval forces. And then it goes on to say, nor shall any person be subjected for the same offense to be twice put in jeopardy of life, limb, nor shall be compelled in any criminal case to be a witness against himself, nor be deprived of life, liberty, or property without due process of law. So the Constitution says any person, not citizen. And therein lies the debate and the root of my question. I mean, does any person just apply to citizens in your mind, or does it apply to citizens and non-citizens? The Secretary of State, Marco Rubio, says it applies to citizens and non-citizens.
Well, let's be very clear. First and foremost, when the framers wrote our Constitution, they never envisioned that there would be an executive that would allow millions of people to come into the country illegally. They never fathomed that. Number two, more importantly, you have a situation right now. Is it okay for any administration to not follow the law, abuse border security laws, let millions of people in, and then hide behind the court system to say, well, now they're here, so now we have to go through a lengthy process? Let's examine this right now. Right now, what we know is that when people came into the country illegally, almost 90% of them would not even go to the hearings. So if you're supposed to show up for a hearing and you do not go, what are we supposed to do as a country?
Very
at that
quickly,
point?
let me just interject, and we're running out of time, and I still have to get to the economy.
Sure.
To your point about the hearings, does Congress need to work harder to get more funding, to get more resources to the courts so that you can better process people who are here, who are undocumented?
In the one big beautiful bill, there will be dollars provided to the administration to speed up the deportation efforts. I will add that one of the things we have to be very sober about is that the gravity upon which all these people have been brought to our country, it is not physically possible to hire that many judges and process them out of the country. This is why you cannot have open borders to begin with.
Okay, let's move on to the economy.
Sure.
I have to get your reaction to the president effectively saying that kids can have or should have $2 and not $30. They should have fewer pencils. Do you think that's the right argument for the president to be making about his tariff policy?
Look, I think the argument the president is making is that overall, if you look at where we are, prices have come down. Even the GDP read that just came out that showed a contraction, you know why that is? It's because of the federal government contracting. That's a good thing. Private investment in the economy year over year is up over 20%. Personal consumption in the economy year over year is up over 2%. So individuals are consuming. There's private domestic investment in our economy. The federal government is shrinking.
Yeah.
But when it comes to goods, prices are coming down. If people make purchasing decisions on what they're going to do with their own resources, those are their personal choices.
As I just noted with the president in the interview, of course, some prices are going up. The economy shrank. As you know, the stock market has been volatile and fears about inflation are increasing.
This is what I'm talking about with the hypocrisy of MAGA. Where are the pocket constitutions? Where's the love of the rule of law? Where's the anger over cancel culture? You know, Republicans recently rallied behind a woman, and I'm not even going to play it. I didn't do a video on it just because it's so disgusting, who called a child, a 5-year-old child, a racial slur in a park. And now MAGA has given her $700,000. This woman attacked a child, and MAGA gave her $700,000 because she's claiming, our family's getting attacked, and, people are mad at her on the internet. Yeah, because you're a disgusting person. But in the anti-cancel culture approach that MAGA cares so much about, we gotta protect this person. They give her $700,000. Do you know what's a much worse version of dealing with the repercussions of your own actions if you're a racist bigot? Maybe being shipped to El Salvador with no due process, no cause. Isn't that a much worse version of cancel culture? MAGA, did this ever compute? No. These people are exhausting in calling out their lies and calling out just the cognitive dissonance. And it exists all throughout MAGA. Even when they put pen to paper, as Hakeem Jeffries called out, tearing to shreds the MAGA budget. This clip right here.
House Republicans are determined to jam a reckless and extreme budget down the throats of the American people that will enact the largest cut to Medicaid and the largest cut to SNAP in American history. Children, families, women veterans, older Americans, people with disabilities, and everyday Americans will be hurt. These proposed cuts to Medicaid and SNAP are unacceptable, unconscionable, and un-American.
I think it's also important to point out the money being wasted in this budget. You know, we saw Jared Moskowitz talk about this, how the get rid of waste, fraud, and abuse, really streamline things. Efficient government people are more than happy for Donald Trump to be reopening Alcatraz, which is like a rust bucket, as Jared Moskowitz called it, with no purpose or point, all just because he saw it on TV, because that's what this presidency is apparently all about, is about TV. That's why Donald Trump hired a bunch of TV hosts, a bunch of TV personalities, because that's what matters to him. What is said on Fox. And it's really not paying out, because even when they do appear on Fox, and even when Fox tries to help spin their propaganda, it doesn't go too well. Like Scott Bessent right here.
The other thing, too, is this reporter behind me was quite snarky the other day when President Trump talked about the girl having two dolls. And he said, well, what? President didn't take the question, but he said, what would you tell that girl? And I said, I would tell that young girl that you will have a better life than your parents, that you and your family, thanks to President Trump, can now be confident again that you will have a better life than your parents, which working class Americans had abandoned that idea. Your family will own a home. You will be able to advance. You will have a good education. You will have economic freedom. That's what we are advancing.
Yeah, is the Treasury Secretary of the United States of America on Fox speaking down to little girls about their dolls? What does this all come to? How are we at this place? And I also think it's important to point out why they kind of like talking about the dolls, because they want to pretend like the tariffs are just going to impact stuff that doesn't really matter. It's just, do you really need that? Oh, they're just dolls. They're not impacting just dolls. Sure, things are going to cost more, but it's not just that things are going to cost more. People are going to lose their jobs because of these tariffs. We're entering a recession. It's not that, maybe I'll pay, a little more here, a little more there, but ultimately it'll all work out. No, they're destroying the economy. Do not let them play this off as, maybe a little bit of a couple things here and there. No, this is a massive man-made recession by the biggest moron in our country. And we're going to call it that every single day on the show. And if you want to support that, as always, you can hit that subscribe button, leave a like on this video. And if you stuck around at the end, drop a blue heart in the comments. And until next time, I'll see you soon.